Welcome back to my channel. For those who are new, welcome. My name is Monica, and today I'm opening up a vlog for the Goodreads challenges. So Goodreads has these 6 challenges where it's like Buzzy Reader, Take Me to Another Time. So specific themed challenges, and you have to read one book in order to make the challenge. And I thought that was very interesting because some of them had books that I really want to read on there. Spoil alert. I've already started. I forgot to film an opening, or it somehow got removed from my phone. So anyways, I'm now making a new opening. So the books that I chose, there was one for historical fiction, and I chose to read The Women. Another one was like, I think it's sweet and spicy books. I chose to read Quicksilver for that one. And for buzzy books, so books that have been really, really hyped, and everybody's talking about them, I chose to read The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. And so, without further ado, let's get into my thoughts.
I am out doing errands. I went to see my son this morning, and then my dad took me to Barnes & Noble for my birthday, and took me out for to lunch for my birthday. My birthday's not today, but you'll see this way after my birthday's done. Anyhow, so we're doing that, and we needed some stuff because I'm making myself some pie for my birthday because I don't want cake, I want pie, and I don't want to order it. I'd rather just make it myself. Okay, so The Women, I am about 17% of the way through. I would have had it done, well, I'd be at least 60% of the way through because normally I just go by myself and then I get some lunch or something on my way back and whatever, right? But this time my dad wanted to go with me, which is, I'm actually very happy he did. All right, so Frankie is our protagonist, and she's in Vietnam now after what happened with her brother, and which is, I would say that I'm surprised, but so I teach history and I know this time period very, very well, so I'm not surprised. And when they were talking about getting the MRS, which is the Mrs., I also kind of knew the acronym, but not from that time period. It was from another time period. But anyhow, the other thing that this was making me think of, so here's the thing, and this is one of my things, and I'm holding my phone up, so if it's a little shaky, I'm sorry. I'm in, not my car, so I'm in another car. But my parents, so I was kind of a turn of the life baby, I should say. They had me later in life, and so my mom, my uncle was in Vietnam. My mom told me that most of the guys that she went to high school with, who went to Vietnam, died. So Vietnam is a very touchy subject in my family. My dad did not go because he was in the submarine service. He decided to do the submarine service instead of being drafted because he was about to be drafted. So he decided after graduation he went into the submarine service. He barely made the height requirement to be on a submarine. So anyway, and my mom was very, very deep into the 60s. To the point where, while I'm listening to this, there's a song that when I was a little kid, my mom played, and I didn't completely understand it until I grew up and I was listening to it, and I studied more about the 60s. And I'll link that down below. It's on Country Joe. And actually, the song has been going around lately, which I think is kind of funny. So I've known about the song since I was probably about 7 years old, and playing a song for a 7-year-old that spells out the F word in the front at the beginning of the song is an interesting choice, but okay. So yeah, my mom was deep in the 60s, so was my uncle. My uncle was at the Chicago riots, actually, and my mom was at Woodstock and went to Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, but I digress. So the stuff that they're talking about in this book, where the women who were nurses. So my dad's mother was an ER nurse. So a lot of the stuff they're talking about for the medical, I kind of already knew because of some of the things that were told to me about my grandmother. So the way that people thought, her parents thought and stuff, this is very familiar to me from stories that I've been told, as well as doing research on my own. And the way these women were treated in Vietnam was not okay. And the way so one of the things that I do know about this time period is when they got back, they were not considered heroes like their parents were when they went to fight in World War II. And I've always had a problem with that. They were told, and I know she said this in the book, where Walter Cronkite, I never say his name right, Walter Cronkite, I think that's how you say it. Anyway, and LBJ were always saying, oh, the war's going great, the war's going great, we're going to end soon. Yeah, that actually was said, and when I was listening to the part, my mom came in and she's like, yeah, she still gets mad over this, so she cannot read this book. She will get mad because the unfairness of the way her generation was treated because of Vietnam. And so that's how she feels. So that is my perspective going into this book. I went into this book, I was planning on not reading it because of that perspective. I just I didn't know if she was going to be historically accurate or how this book was going to go, right? There's people standing there. Okay, so they passed. All right, so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so anyway, so that's where my perspective on this is coming from. And I know that Christi from Christi Reads a Lot and Tori from Novel Life absolutely loved this book. And I think she really liked this book too. And then everybody's like, you're going to cry in this book. So far I've not cried. Again, I'm not too far into it. But I just got to the point where the girl had the amputation. And again, I heard stories. So I'm just like, and so far she is historically right on the nose. I love Frankie as a character. So far she has grown a lot in such a short time in a book. So we start with her being very naive, right? And we start her going through this journey where she wants to be a hero, like what her father's family were talking about. Like, you serve your family, right? You serve your country. It's a matter of honor. Right, sorry about that. I got a call that I had to take because we need to replace a part in my van. Anyway, okay. So what was I saying? Yeah, so far I feel like there's a lot of character growth with Frankie. I can absolutely feel her fear. I can feel the desperation, and the way Kristen Hanna is writing the plot and the way she's writing Saigon and the field hospitals. I get it. And it's like, and I think one of the parts that made my breath stutter the most was when the doctor was basically crying, and he said that he just worked on a soldier who he knew where he played high school football, and he couldn't save him, but he was there holding his hand. It's like, oh, yeah. So and they were talking about Agent Orange. And if you know anything about Agent Orange, I'm just gonna leave that there. So far, this is a 5-star. I haven't cried yet, but I'm enthralled. And I think she's doing a really good job with the history part of it and with the social commentary part of it. I really do. And I am looking forward to see where it goes from here. I'm sorry for the shakiness, but I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go do my grocery shopping, and then I am gonna go home and get some stuff done. So I want it to be a very, very relaxing weekend, and so far it is. All right, bye.
Hey guys, so it is Sunday morning and I'm getting ready to film a video that you'll see before you see this. Most likely, I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to put things yet. But anyway, I stayed up a little too late last night because I had to finish The Woman by Kristen Hanna. And then, yes, I did cry. So number one, I did cry. I texted Christi and I texted Tori, and I was like, because there's one character who had a death towards the beginning of the book that I was like, what? No, please don't kill him. Don't kill him. The other guy that was supposed to be killed, Rye, I was like, okay. But Jamie, I was like, wait, what? Anyway, that's the romance reader in me. So, and both of those got resolved, and I actually was very happy at how they were resolved. So anyway, I did finish it, and it wasn't how she, like, there's the parts where I did tear up, but the one part that did make me cry was at the Vietnam Veterans Wall, where he said, even though it came too late because it was in 1982, was welcome home. Because, okay, so I don't quite remember where I updated you at. So Frankie, she came back from the war, and she came back from the war where people were actually spitting on her and calling her baby killers. And I know that happened. Okay, so my mom told me, like I said, I think I told you this, but my mom told me a lot of stuff, and same with my dad's like, yeah, that we were talking about it, and I was talking about it with them because I was like, you were alive when this happened. Like, my uncle went to Vietnam, and he was so messed up from Vietnam, he left and went AWOL because he was not going to go back. He did not want to go back, and he's like, he'd rather go to jail than go back to Vietnam. And I will say this, he did not make it out of the late 60s, early 70s. So, and there's reasons for that. One of the bigger reasons was the effects of what happened in Vietnam on him, and he was in the Navy. So anyhow, and I was talking to my mom about this book, and I was talking to my sister because my sister's a veteran as well, and I was telling her about the PTSD rep and how it changed our character Frankie, and the way she saw the war and the way she thought changed in Vietnam, right? It took her from being young and idealistic to she was happy that she went, but she saw the ugly side of life, and she had a hard time dealing with this. And one of the biggest things that occurred, and yeah, again, we were talking about this, was how she kept coming to the VA and saying, I need help. And they were saying there were no women in Vietnam. And when I told my dad that, he's like, yeah, he remembers stuff like that happening. Anyway, so a lot of this stuff I already knew, and the soundtrack that she was talking about, We Got to Get Out of Here. This is the music I grew up on. I remember my mom doing what Frankie did in this book. She was driving her car with the window down, singing along to A Piece of My Heart by Janis Joplin. I remember that completely because my mom did that. So you have to understand, this book, I was like, this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to pick up this book, because whenever I started talking about this with anyone, or even because I remember hearing the stories when I was a kid, and I remember hearing what they went through, what my mom was talking about. Like, she remembers this guy named Paul that graduated with her. He was so excited to go because he felt like he could make a difference. He graduated in June and then went directly to the Army, and within a year he was dead. And another guy that she was really good friends with, he crash landed in in the jungle. He was a fighter pilot. He crashed, landed in a jungle, and they found him in his plane dead in the trees in the jungle. He was, I don't even think he was 20 at that point. So whenever we were talking about this, and then stuff that my uncle told her, so war's hell on everybody who's gone and those who are there to support them. Because one of the things that I love the character Henry, because he let them talk through their grief, to talk through the trauma, and did not judge them for what happened. I loved his character, and I just think that this book was very well written, and it was historically accurate. I mean, again, the playlist for the music was really, really good. This was stuff that they were listening to. This was the music of their generation, and they were very angry. And I have to say, one of the other parts that were very true was the World War II generation, where they did not know how, her parents, they did not know how to effectively communicate their feelings to their children. Again, I seen this with my grandparents, because I didn't know my grandparents, because they, with the exception of my grandmother, my mama, they died before either I was born, or I didn't even remember them. Like, okay, so like I said, I was a later baby. And so while I'm reading this and I'm seeing the story, I'm reading her story, and I know for a fact, and I didn't even have to listen to the author's note to know that she definitely had a lot of help with this book. And I am so glad she used the places in Vietnam, the real places like Saigon. And so this was a very hard book for me to read. And I do know people very close to me who have PTSD. I mean, my sister, I've said it before on this, and we were talking about this, and I told her about how our character Frankie went into the VA twice, right? And they denied her care because she was a woman, and women did not go to Vietnam. And she's like, didn't she have she told me the form. I'm not going to remember what the form is, but she told me about the form, and I was like, no, she didn't have that. And she's like, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered, probably because she was a woman. So, especially at that time. So that's why I love the character Henry so much, and how he helped her. I love the growth that her father and her mother went through, basically to help save Frankie. I loved Frankie so much. I loved the characters who helped Frankie. They loved her so much that they changed so they could help her survive what happened to her, because she was making decisions that she wouldn't have made if she was still young and idealistic. She had a moral compass, and she felt guilty for some very specific things that happened. I'm not going to go into it because I really do want you to read this. I'm sure you have read it. A lot of people have read this book. I'm on the tail end of this book because of the popularity of this book, because I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to go through this experience. I feel like you really, really should read this book. If you haven't, it is very accurate, and it portrays how everything occurred in our society back in the mid to late 60s and early 70s. And they did use the assassination of JFK as the commies did it, so we need to go to war. It was their justification. And yes, even my mom, she teared up. She's like, I remember him. She's like, I was sitting in my class, and we heard they said on the loudspeaker that JFK was dead and that he had been murdered. And she was like, when she still thinks Lyndon B. Johnson is the devil. She says she remembers when Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in on Air Force One after President Kennedy was assassinated, and Jackie was there covered in blood, and she's like, of her husband, and she was saying, we are all dead. That's what she thought. But she also thought that Nixon was going to kill the entire country. So I love my mom. But yeah, she thought Johnson was the worst thing that ever happened to this country. And I think that's true for her generation because of Vietnam, what happened. Anyhow, so I am giving that 5 stars, and I would recommend it, and it's going to be on my favorites list. So once I was done with that, I literally listened to the first chapter while I was trying to decompress after the women, right? And I started Quicksilver because this is the next book in this planned vlog, right? So I will say this. I am on chapter 3. I started chapter 1 yesterday. I listened to chapter 2 this morning while I was getting dressed and brushing my teeth. I haven't even eaten breakfast yet. I have to take my meds because I take my meds in the morning for my ADHD. And so it's probably why I'm a little all over the place right now. So far, I am really, really enjoying this. I absolutely love her. Like, I love our main character. I think her name is Cyrus or something like that. She saved her brother because her brother got into a scrape, right? So I should start this first. Okay, so at first she stole a piece of metal and it was gold, from the Queen's Guard. And they're like, if you don't give it back, you're going to make an enemy for life. And she's like, okay. And she finished scaling the wall and left. The glassmaker who was with her, who is, I'm assuming is like a parental figure. It's like, I will kill you if you don't get that out of here, because that's not something I could ever have in my shop. So she left. Her brother got caught holding the bag that had the metal in it, right? And he was going to be in a lot of trouble with the guard. She's like, you're not going to hurt my brother. And so she's like, I'm the one who stole it. And they didn't quite believe her because she's a woman. I'm sensing a theme here. Anyway, she's like, no, I did it. And then she pulled her knife on the guard, which is automatic death. Well, she ended up killing, I think, like 2 guards and mortally wounding another one. And they're like, oh, it's over for you. So she managed to get her brother away from the guards, and now she's being captured. And that's where I'm at. And I am very excited to finish this, actually. At least to continue on. I think it caught my interest. So that is where I'm at. I'm only on page 43. It is going to take me, this is what? 551, 597. Okay. It is 609 pages. This is a 609 pages book. So yeah, this is a thick book. Anyhow, I am going to stop recording this video, this update. I am going to film my video, which is my March wrap up, or February wrap up. We're in March, it's March 2nd. Anyway, and I'm going to go ahead and go eat breakfast. I will update you when I have something to update. Bye. Hey guys, it is Tuesday morning, and I finished Quicksilver. I was getting ready for work this morning. I had to stop to get gas because I'm not very good at getting gas. I don't particularly like doing it. Okay, so Quicksilver. I would have finished yesterday, except that yesterday was my birthday, and when I got home, I just did stuff with my family, and same with Sunday. Like, Sunday, I got my daughter to watch She's the Man, which was awesome. She loved it. And, so yesterday, we were just celebrating my birthday and stuff, so I read a little bit last night after everything was done. Excuse me, I'm not completely awake right now. Anyhow, okay, so Ceres is one of the strongest female characters that I've ever read. I absolutely love her. She is emotionally, mentally, and physically strong, even for a human in the Fae world.
I really, really enjoyed that. This book was very twisty. There's stuff. It started out with action and it ended with action. And it barely load up. There was really almost no lull in the book, which I really appreciate. I really liked Kingfisher. You can tell he's definitely a shadow daddy, and I like how he went from kind of loathing her because she's a human to she was the one, and it was very steady. It was a very steady growth, and it was well done. The growth, the romantic plot was very well done because it was a steady growth. I really like the fact that there's vampires as the villain, and because I love vampire books, even if they're the protagonist or the villain. I just think it adds something very interesting to the story, especially either a paranormal or a fantasy. So I know that when I was getting ready, because I'm hovering between a 4.5 and 5 stars, I can see why some people might have an issue. There's some swearing in this where I'm not sure if they would be talking like that because that's more of a today human thing, but it didn't bother me. I think that it was fine. I actually did not mind it at all. Anyhow, so yeah, I still don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to take the day to figure out what I want to rate it, but I really liked it. I thought it was a very, very good book. I am excited to continue on this series. We already have, it's called Brimstone, so that's the next book in the series, and it's supposed to, I think, come out this year. Anyway, the reason why I am torn between a 4.5 and a 5 for this is because there's one character who just irritated the crap out of me. She was just like, that's my sword. Oh. And she wouldn't even, like, it literally took her getting her hand burnt off for her to realize that she should stop really. And she was still a nasty, very nasty. I didn't like her. I liked the ending. I liked how everything played out. And yes, I understand that this is a series, so what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I enjoyed, like, the character growth was really, really interesting. I am very intrigued on how this is going to go. I absolutely really did like it. It checks all the boxes for my 5-star criteria. Like, I was not bored at all. I loved the characters. There was character growth. The romance felt real, and it did not go off on a crazy way. The plot did not overshadow the romance and vice versa. I really loved the characters. I really loved the world. The writing, Callie Hart can write a really good story. This is not my first Callie Hart book. The first one I read from her was Requiem, which was really, really good. I gave that one 5 stars. You know, I think I'm just gonna leave it at a 5 stars because I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I don't think it's gonna be on my favorites list, but it definitely deserved the 5-star rating from me. So that's what I think I am gonna do. Thank you for letting me talk it through because I was a little conflicted. So anyway, I have to get gas and get to work. So that's why I'm at the gas station, because I hate getting gas a lot. Anyway, I am gonna go, I'm gonna get gas, and I'm gonna go to work. And
hey guys, it is Tuesday night, and I am here with my final update, as well as wrapping everything up. So, I finished Quicksilver early this morning, right? And I loved it. When I was talking to you, I decided to give it 5 stars, and I was continuing to think about it, and yeah, it's definitely 5 star. I really liked the ending. I really liked all the little explanations and stuff, and it is definitely something that I would consider. I would recommend that book. It is a really great romantasy. And then I was listening to The Housemaid periodically throughout the day. Like, I listened to it, started it when I was doing my planning period, and listened to it during lunch, and then I had some appointments that I had to go to this afternoon, so I listened to it when I was driving to and from appointments and stuff. And it was predictable. So I feel like with The Housemaid, It's about this woman who has a criminal record, and she can't get a job, so but she ends up getting this job, and it's a little suspect, like it's meant to creep you out, right? So I didn't feel any of the sympathy for any of the characters, and I feel like the characters were weak, okay? One thing. Also, I feel like I've read this story before on multiple times. It just did not feel fresh. It did not feel new. At least a version of it. So anyhow, I predicted this book within like 20 minutes of listening to the audiobook. I was like, oh, I know how this is gonna end. So yeah, I'm going to give it a very generous 3 stars, and I'll probably never pick up a Frida McFadden book, because this is supposed to be her best one, and I was like, oh gosh. So I did not connect with the writing, I did not connect with the characters, and I guessed the twists and the ending. So I'm gonna give it a very generous 3 stars. So, but for the most part, this vlog has been very successful. I had 2 5 stars. I mean, one is definitely going to be on my top reads of 2025. The Women was phenomenal. So was Quicksilver. And after reading those two were fantastic. And then I read The Housemaid, and it was fine. That's all I can say. It was a book. That's all I'm going to say. It was a book. Anyway, I'm going to end this vlog here. Let me know if you've read them. What did you think about them? What were your rating? Is there another book from these authors that I should be reading? And let me know all the things down below. And if you have made it this far in this video and you want to let me know what you're here, leave me a butterfly emoji, because the butterflies on the Quicksilver cover, they're gorgeous. Until next time, my friends, happy reading. Bye.